If the rich don't want us to eat them, they should really stop keeping money that's not theirs. Renting! Why are we doing it? Because we have no choice. When are we doing it? Potentially into our late 30s. How are we doing it? That's what we're covering in today's sermon. Hello and welcome to another episode of the 20s Toolkit. I impart on you the sage wisdom, scattered thoughts and weather vane moments in my own 20s that pointed me towards smarter choices. If you haven't been here before and are in your 20s and fucking hell, life of God, you have no idea what's going on, then I think subscribing will be the best option for both of us, don't you? Subtle blackmail. That should get you started for the renting market. We've covered wardrobes, dating, food, school, procrastination, freelancing, and today we're talking borrowing a house from somebody else for a sum of money because the world is unfair. Otherwise known as renting. We're going to cover choosing a property, being in that property, and what happens when you would like to leave that property. I am not going to cover housemates in this video, but if you would like me to do a whole other video on housemates, it would be my pleasure. And I know sometimes that paperwork and admin and adulting can be quite boring, so what we're going to do during this video is move. I'm not actually kidding. I'm moving in 2 days, so I thought I'd take you with me. Is it a global pandemic? Yes. Does that bother the rental market? No. Do we definitely have to leave this property? Yes. So here we are, we're going. And for financial reasons, we're actually moving out of London. This video is also very kindly sponsored by our ethereal overlords Skillshare, who are actually giving me a really good excuse to give you something very, very cool for free that I'll get into probably about in the middle of the video when you need a loo break anyway. Let's get on with the tips, shall we? Although I also do need to still pack, so we're gonna have to kill two tenants with one stone, as they say. This is fine, I'm fine. Now, they're supposed to call it renting, but really what I think they should call it is dating with less regulations and way more expensive when it goes wrong. The other thing you need to know before we start our points is that I've never met a more homogenous group of people than estate agents. There is one personality type, I swear to God. And I say that as somebody who has lived in 9 to 10 rented properties in their 20s, most of which are in London. A few were in Aberystwyth in Wales. But that brings us on to the other thing you have to bear in mind, is that I can only really swear that this advice applies to the UK. A lot of it may apply elsewhere. You may go under laws by different names. But do pop to the comments and let me know if there's any useful information other people should know about the country that you live in. The first lesson is, don't judge a property by its pictures. Just like with a dating profile, pictures aren't the whole story. A property exists on a map. Revolutionary advice coming out of Lena's mouth today. And it also exists in a housing continuum. What I mean by that is, a top floor flat is gold. Anything else is subpar and you should be paying less for it. I have never been in so much emotional anguish than when I lived in an incredibly spacious, beautiful flat in the basement. There was a family of 6 living above me, the smallest of which was on 24-hour free-for-all, seat on wheels situation. It was like living under King's Cross. So if you do find a top floor flat, they are going to be more expensive. There is a reason for that. Weigh up whether that is something important for you. Save yourself. Ditto location on the map. If you like a quiet life, circa 25 plus in Lena's life, you're gonna wanna go onto Google Maps and you're gonna wanna see, you can find any properties that are near churches or schools. Any building of worship will do, especially if they meet at the weekend. I don't know if you've noticed, but organised religion is kind of going out of fashion in the UK, which means living next to one of the buildings is gold dust. I've lived beside churches before, and they are so bloody quiet. Only really Sunday mornings you get a little bit of organ, a little bit of singing. Personally, I like that. But it's not like living next to a derelict building because there's a caretaker, like somebody's checking that it's not like a weird empty space, you know what I mean? There's no ghosts. Although graveyards also lucked out. Most people very quiet. The same with schools, although I wouldn't say that so much during a pandemic. Then I imagine it's quite loud. But I did live near a school once, and it is absolutely dead after 5 p.m. and at the weekend, which is mainly when, in normal times, you're going to be in your flat. Is it near something that's likely to be quite quiet? Yummy, lovely. Is it above a food place, a late night establishment, a 24-hour shop of some kind? You should get cheaper rent for that, or consider maybe not. But that's up to you, that's your journey. There was a time in my life where I would have loved to live above a 24-hour chicken shop. Good morning, it's the day of the move and we're about to try and get a very big mattress in a very small car on half a cup of coffee each, because that's how much coffee was left.
That's not gonna work, is it?
We got everything. We got everything in. Well, when I say everything, I mean Craig still has to do another trip back. It's been several trips, I'll be honest, to get all the stuff out of the flat. We stopped because Craig needed a wee. The driver always takes priority. I'm not being funny, but I don't want death by urine. I have bigger aspirations for my dramatic death story. Anyway, the next tip is, before you get emotionally attached, involved with a property that you're excited about, ask if they have a gas safety certificate. You want them to have a gas safety certificate, obviously, but it's also a kind of litmus test that's like, if you don't have a gas safety certificate, what else don't you have? Okay, we had to pause proceedings because I can't vlog in front of others. Certificate, what else don't you have? Yeah, I'm just doing some of my tips for the vlog, but I'll do it more later.
No, it's okay.
Where was I? Ah, yes. Ask for a gas safety. Ask for a gas safety. Ask for a gas. Ask for a gas safety. Ask for a gas. It's very hard to say. Can you imagine an imaginary menagerie manager managing an imaginary menagerie? Ask for a gas certificate. Ditto, and I didn't know this until I was researching this video, which government redress scheme they are part of. I'll spare you the boring details, but there are 3 of them. Since 2014 in the UK, they legally have to be part of one, and if they're not, and the government find out, you could face eviction during your tenancy. Brilliant. Now, the more astute among you will have noticed that it is the next day. We arrived at the cottage, yes, cottage, last night, got the keys from our landlord, had some ciders, settled in, got that mattress up the stairs, which was no small feat. And I thought you could help me unpack and assemble furniture while we continue. Now, there are 3 other things I reckon you should check before agreeing to rent a place. And I know the perfect place to tell you this next one. When you are viewing the property, don't be shy. Turn on the shower, see what the pressure's like. Try the taps, check they work. It feels weird, it feels embarrassing, but you're not trying to make friends with the estate agent. I have a feeling they'd make awful friends anyway. Water pressure is a big part of life. You have a shower? Most days. And also, you want to check the taps work, because I'm not being funny, that is not always a given. I didn't realise that the first few times I rented a flat, but that's the thing that people do. That's okay, it's not the weirdest thing in the world. Estate agents have seen it before and they will see it again. Normalise checking the taps before you sign. Other things to consider. Closed curtains in the middle of the day. Why are they closed? Be a Nancy Drew. Find out. You might open it to find an incredibly busy and noisy dolly mixtures factory or a building site. Or, as I did, the time before this time I was renting a place, opened the curtains to find cling film on the windows because it was so badly insulated and damp, and they were closing all the curtains to try and hide that. But you can't get that past the Norminator. Oh no. And while you're there, check if it's got double glazing. It's not a deal breaker if it doesn't have double glazing. I don't think it's the biggest deal in the world, but know that you should be getting a better price for it if it isn't double glazed. It is way more expensive to heat, and also non-sealed windows mean spiders. It's a choice you've got to make, my friends. And the third very important thing you want to check is locks. Again, something I only realised when I was trying to get my life together and get contents insurance, because your landlord's insurance doesn't cover your possessions. You have to get insurance for your stuff. Boring, I know. But the price of your insurance and whether you can even get insurance does depend on the kind of locks you have. Pick a contents insurance provider before you view flats and see what locks they require, because one of the last properties I rented, the very front door of the house was fine, great, but we were obviously in a flat in the house. Picture the layers, please. And the front door of our property, the bit that we were renting, only had like a twist lock and not like another fancy lock. If I can find out the names, I'll put them in. So our property didn't have a proper lock, and also we had a patio door that was just literally a flick and twist. Another technical term. So it was way more expensive to insure, and I'm not completely sure that our contents insurance in that flat would have held up. I'm boring myself here. How can we make this more interesting? I know, do you want to help me put up some furniture? In my Tennessee mountain home. Also, this is totally Craig's hack and I was absolutely blown away. Another tip is to keep all of your instruction manuals in one like plastic folder that you keep everywhere. It's like your own little Argos catalogue of stuff you already own. So here's like how we assemble our desks. Here's the instructions for the kettle. Here's how I reassemble these chairs. Mind blown. Oh, and also keep your lush pots. When you're disassembling and then reassembling your furniture in different places, I use a pot for every piece of furniture, and then they're all in there. Not just a mediocre face. Okay, I paused for a spontaneous craft project, but then I realized this might also be a good tip. So these legs for our chairs used to have like little foam protectors on the bottom, but they wore off within like a couple of months. IKEA, fool me once. So I got like an old face flannel, snipped it into circles, and have made little bottoms so they don't harm the wood floors. That rented property life. Back to it. Okay, so the next thing to tackle is this stuff behind me. This is a 2-bedroom cottage, and this room is hopefully going to be my office and filming space, which is really exciting. Two other things you need to think about before renting a property. One, the council tax band that you're in. Not all council taxes were created equal. One big shock I got from moving from being a renter in Wales to being a renter in London was that my council tax bill went up considerably. So that's really good to factor in if you're factoring in whether you can afford to rent a place. Also bear in mind that you only get a small discount if you're living on your own. There was this one year where I rented on my own. RIP my bank balance. It hadn't occurred to me that I'd always had housemates, so we'd always split the council tax bill. But when it comes to council tax, genuinely they don't care about how many people are in the house. You still have to pay it. Yet another tax on single people. Make it stop! And the other thing to consider is a break clause. It's not unusual to have a break clause in a rental contract. That means that after a certain amount of time of tenancy, so say 3 months or 6 months, you are allowed to leave before the end of your contract without any excess charges. Because it's not necessarily in every contract, it's really good to talk to your estate agent about putting it in there if it's not in there. There's usually like a mandatory like 12-month contract, and that's a big commitment, especially if you're young and especially if the industry you work in is volatile. Or, I don't know, there's a global pandemic on. If the unforeseeable happens and, I don't know, you have a death in the family and you need to move home, you get made redundant, the last thing you're gonna want to think about is the anger at yourself for not having a break clause. I really wish I'd checked that because I did not have one in one flat I needed to move out of, and I found it incredibly unfair, especially because the landlord is allowed to kick you out before the end of your tenancy if they want to reoccupy the house or their life changes. So riddle me that. Okay, let's sort out this mess a bit, shall we? Right, we're having a cheese on toast break. while I tell you about the next bit of advice, which is security deposits. Once you're in there, your landlord or your estate agent has 30 days to register it in an official deposit scheme and tell you exactly which deposit scheme they've put it in and where the hell your money is. And if they don't, it's well illegal. You can report them. The reason for this is because obviously your security deposit is often lots of money, thousands actually. And if they keep it, one, they're collecting interest on it, which is like an illegal way of making money. It's money that's in limbo. It's not money that they've earned or is technically theirs. So they shouldn't be earning interest on it. And also it means if you have a dispute at the end of the tenancy, you have like an intermediary. They can't just keep your money. Snow! It's snowing. Maybe a snow walk is in order after this. So yeah, I feel very strongly about that one because if the rich don't want us to eat them, they should really stop keeping money that's not theirs. Speaking of, as soon as you move in, before you put any boxes down, before you even go for a wee, take pictures of everything. The state of the floor and if there's scratches on it. You just witnessed the moment that I realised. You just witnessed the moment that I realised that there is building work going on in the house next door to me. Anyway, they should have done an inventory before you moved in. And they should give you a copy of it, showing any marks on the wall, any scratches on the floor, any damages, or any damp. If they don't give it to you, ask for it. If they haven't done one, send them your own pictures. And then you've got a date on your email attached to those pictures. So that if they try and charge you when you move out, you've got evidence to show what has and hasn't happened. That deposit is yours. I believe in you. I believe in you. While Lena's on her snow walk, alone at last, we're gonna do a cheeky spawn. But seriously though, it does blow my mind that our generation feels like they've been so undertaught, ill-prepared to graduate from childhood to adulthood and told about all the various pitfalls and senseless legal tripwires on the way that we had to invent a verb for it, adulting. But here we are, these are the crumbled cookies we have been dealt. But luckily we have a secret weapon, Skillshare. Which is also my secret weapon for paying my next deposit because they are sponsoring this video. Ow. Like I've said before, they have thousands of classes, and yes, I'm in the Midlands now. I am allowed to say classes without being mocked on a whole range of skills. Poetry, activism, writing, freelancing, minimalism. But fortunately for us, they also cover some rather boring topics too. Apart from they're actually helpful and not boring at all. The other day, I was watching this one called Modern Money Habits by Justin Bridges. Oh my God. I took notes, actual notes. No, you can't copy my homework. Justin basically broke down all these terms that I was like, I don't really want to understand that, but I don't want to ask in case people laugh. He covered really basic stuff like expenditure, savings, salary, loans, gross income, net income, but he also went into retirement, assets, stocks, bonds, and I kind of understood what he was talking about. He talked about emergency funds and how to calculate how much you might need in an emergency fund, how to calculate what your savings goals should be, and even what is your net worth. I really liked his class because it was super simple to understand, almost calming in its delivery, almost, because we're still talking about money and then it's stressful. And I came away with like tangible things I can talk to my friends about and be like, I understand this thing, hear me. Most classes you can take are under an hour total, come in slurp-sized chunks that you can fit into any kind of schedule or, in my case, attention span. There's a community of the ladle's back apparently. There's a community of literally millions, so you're never alone, and it is under $10 a month for an annual subscription. So if you do take the free trial and decide, I want to stick around, it's not going to break the bank, which would very much please Justin. Plus, we'll have a purchase that lasts a lifetime, doesn't come wrapped in plastic, and doesn't need to be shipped to you. As I said at the beginning of the video, there is something in it for you. The first 1,000 fingers to click the link in the description, and the humans that are attached to those fingers, will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. So if you want it, you better jump on that link like it's a 1-bed in Zone 2 with double glazing and a fire safety certificate, because you better believe when they're gone, they're gone. Now, where is Lena and why is her walk taking so long? So I'm a bit soggy because I went out on my snow walk, but it was absolutely delectable and it made me feel really at peace. I don't think it's a revolutionary statement to say Snow is cleansing, but I feel very nice and ready to tackle the wardrobe. But first, I wanted to touch on reversible ways to redesign your home. So you've already seen that we have these leaning desks that take up very little room and don't need securing to the walls. Most people say not to put holes in your walls, and I would concur. I'd say no big holes. Way! But a small one never did anyone any harm. They're usually better on inside walls. You don't want to do it with stone or concrete. And when you leave, polyfiller is your friend. I've only really ever done like 1 or 2 per flat, so it's not too obvious. On your own head be it, but you can usually get away with it. Especially if you want to do really tiny little pins for fairy lights. You can put these invisible little hooks in places that they might not be looking for hooks when they're inspecting. For instance, under this bathroom cabinet. You can take these off and they don't leave too much of a mark, but it's really good to put them in places that people won't look in case they do leave a mark. You can also do stuff to change the feel of a place. So switch out the lampshades, the curtains, the shower curtain makes a really big difference for some reason. Every time you get the urge to paint a wall, buy a plant, which is why I have so many plants, that kind of thing. Now, it's D-Day for the wardrobe. We've got to do it. Let's do it. Come on. Okay, that's the wardrobe done. I can't believe it's already getting dark, but we persevere all the same. My next point is to invest in one of these and one of these. I think if I was going to encapsulate my attitude to life at this point, think the best of everybody, but also trust no bitch. Your flat or house may technically meet safety requirements, or it may not, but it is not a given that you will be given one of these, and it is not a given that you'll be giving a working one of these. You should, and if you're not given a working fire alarm in the appropriate places, you, 1, need to complain, make sure they do it, and 2, you can actually, one of the properties I was in that didn't have a working fire alarm, and I had a private landlord who I didn't have an estate agent for, and he wouldn't do it. Long story. I just made an inquiry with the local fire service, the local fire station, and they sent round a firefighter, a very nice firefighter, a very handsome firefighter, to fit one in my flat for free. But what I would also say is these, I mean, cool is a very strong word, but this is a smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. I have it on a string and I just like hang it somewhere in the flat. Even if you get a fire alarm, you don't necessarily get a carbon monoxide. I'm aware that I'm sounding a little tinfoil hatty, but I have one of these. I'm the person who stocks the batteries, so I know that it works. It helps me sleep at night. And ditto, one of these, just a mini one. They're about £15. And even if your whole property has like 1 fire extinguisher, it's cool to have one in your room. I also bring this on holiday when we go to Airbnbs, because not all Airbnbs have these either. Look, you can laugh, but I, for one, as a child, saw the first night far too many times. And this is a piece of paranoia that I genuinely don't see the harm in. Yeah, your landlord is supposed to provide stuff, but are you trying to be right or are you trying to live? Anyway, on a lighter note, we come to the last section of the video, getting the hell out of there. You're on the road again. Can't wait to be on the road again. I'm happy for you. Great. First thing you do is grab a pot of white paint. We have one that we carry between flats. It's very useful. It can cover a multitude of sins. And not even sins. What really should be deemed fair wear and tear. But like so many terms of our age, we have yet to agree on a definition. So in lieu of a consensus, I would suggest a pot of this. In terms of flexibility, after 1 year of tenancy, you have a right, yes, a legal right, to a rolling contract. This is something that my one of my estate agents actually lied to me about, like barefaced to my face on the phone, lied and said that we didn't, and that we couldn't have a rolling contract, and the landlord said no, and we weren't sure if we wanted to stay, so we were like, well, I guess we have to sign on for another year. They will try and trick you into this and insinuate that it's not a possibility. That's the kind of phrasing they use, because they want you in a contract for another year. Obviously it'd be easier for them, but no. I'm leaving links below that you can link them to the law. And I would really advise that, even if you are planning to stay another year in a property you've already stayed a year in, I would highly advise a rolling contract if you're in your 20s and you're not sure where the fuck you're gonna be, you know what I mean? You know what's gonna happen. We are losing light fast. I might carry this on tomorrow. Britain, am I right? With estate agents, again, you do have the legal right to be able to contact your landlord directly. You also have the legal right to know their name and their address. And if you think there is something shifty going on with your estate agent, just say gently, politely, that if the the issue can't be resolved and you know that you're in the right, you are happy to contact the landlord directly. And that will scare the shit out of them. Sadly, another thing to note is that, and I really kind of spot tested this throughout my renting life, trying to control the conditions as much as possible for scientific proof. But if you are not a cis man and you live with a cis man and you're not being taken seriously by your estate agent, I would highly suggest sending exactly the same email address. Give it a week, give it 2 weeks, exactly the same email, exactly the same copy, with your housemate's permission, send it from his email address, and you'll probably get your way. And I hate it. Cis men out there who are renting, know that your solidarity in this matter is appreciated. Craig lets me log into his email address to contact our estate agents now, because the responses we get from his email address versus my email address is actually kind of laughable. Lastly, if the shit really hits the fan, you can go to your relevant government redress scheme that we talked about at the beginning, ask them what the best thing to do is, and Shelter also offer really great free advice. Shelter is a UK charity that has a reputation for helping homeless people, and that is very true, but that is only one of the things they do. They're also just there to help renters and renters' rights in general. So I have friends that have called them when they haven't really known what to do. Often your question can be answered within like 3 minutes, you're not taking up much of their time, and it's great to give them a donation afterwards if you can, or perhaps a couple of years if you're really in trouble financially and you can't. Just remember them. In a few years, whack them a donation. They're there to help and they're really bloody great. There's no shame in contacting Shelter. I don't think it's talked about as much as it should be, but housing instability is a thing that a lot of people experience, and your success in the renting market can depend on a lot of factors that aren't always recognised. So the amount of possessions you start off with can mean that you can pick an unfurnished flat instead of a furnished one, and you'll have more choice. How you're perceived by landlords and estate agents, so your accent, your class, your race, your religion, can all be factors in how you're treated. The amount of savings you have means that you can flip between 2 flats. I've often had to borrow from friends or family to move houses because I didn't have 2 deposits, because you don't get your deposit back from the house that you're living in until you're already in the new one. So you need this floating amount of money that you don't always have at the beginning of your 20s. And if you don't have it yet and you become in a position where you can save it, I would highly suggest moving towards a place where you can have this lump deposit fund, which is about a month and a half's worth of rent in the area that you're living in, so that you can move. It's wild to me that that isn't something that's accounted for in legislation. Like, why, if you're renting, why would you have 2 deposits? So like 3 months worth of rent. The reason you're renting is, don't start me, your level of education and also your authority literacy. Like, how good are you at dealing with authority? How has authority abused you in the past? How confident are you in navigating that kind of space? Health and disability obviously is a big factor. Your profession can play a part in whether you can rent certain kinds of places. When we were leaving our last flat and other people were coming to view it, it was really frustrating and made me kind of livid actually that our estate agents don't accept universal credit or housing benefit, even though some of the people who are ringing up wanting to view the flat could afford it. They just didn't want to deal with people who were on benefits, so they just didn't. I hate it. Also, if you're in a job but you're on a 0 hours contract, that can prevent you from getting a lot of flats. And also just your social circles and family. Can you move in with your family if you lose a flat or you get evicted? Even if it's just for a very short period of time. Do you have friends that are affluent enough to be able to lend you a little bit of money, or even have a spare room that you could stay in? There's so many, even if you're watching this video and you don't know why you are, because you're not renting a flat, they're good things to think about when we think about the renting market. My last and final tip of the video is get it in writing. They will try and call you, and that's because they don't want to leave a blood paper trail to their crimes. If you do want to pick up to them, I would suggest spending as little time on the phone as possible, and if there is anything said in that meeting, because they call it a casual convo, but it's a meeting, make sure you follow up with, "Thanks for the call, just to clarify the things that were said in this phone call," and then send bullet points of what they promised. So it's in writing, receipts are the name of the game. I don't know why the name of the game should be justice, but apparently it's just receipts. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the 20s Toolkit. You can watch more episodes up here. Do not sleep on that link in the description. It's a free thing in 2021. Take it. A special recommendation goes out to Being an Adult by Lucy Tolbin and Kat Paul, which really helped me researching some of the facts in this video. There are more videos here if you'd like to stay in the world of Lena, and what a special world it is. Thank you so much for watching. Frogsnog out.